So first of all, I will take this opportunity to thank on behalf of the panel for this opportunity for all of us to share what thoughts we have, and then basis which others will learn, others will have opportunity to further think over it, and that will evolve us as a better industry. So with that, I will request now each one of the panel members to introduce themselves, and then I can begin with the things.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. Myself, Jeyabalan. I head engineering for PDG India. We are into data center, Colt player, we have data center in Airoli, and obviously we are working across Asian countries.
Very good evening to all. This is Neilmani Sahu. I'm heading IT for JSW Paints. You might be aware that we are into paint as well. We go with the tagline, think beautiful.
Good evening all. I am Abhishek Sukhwal. I head infrastructure, cloud and network at Mahindra Mahindra Group. Thank you for coming. Let's start.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So if we look at the construct of the panel itself is very knowledgeable and very distinguished in the sense that we all are coming from different industry. Some of you will find that we are from data center co-location business, while others are coming from a different segment altogether who have their own homegrown data centers. So it's going to be an interesting blend, and the topic also is very different, which is blockchain. So most of us have heard cryptocurrency as something, a buzzword, although it's not legal in India, but many of us have investments in cryptocurrency. And if you look at it, the technology behind is nothing but blockchain. So what is a blockchain? It is a decentralized, distributed digital ledger technology. So what it means is you have got so all your data is spread across the various nodes, and in turn you get a data which is absolutely say the transparency is fully maintained. You get a ability because none of the data can be deleted. At the same time, it's fully distributed. So ultimately, it's just being shared across all the people, and then it is encrypted. So it is very secure. So that's where the cryptography or the crypto thing comes in, and that's how the cryptocurrency comes in. So if you look at basically blockchain evolved to support cryptocurrency. That's how it began. And then later on, it is being used in other multiple, say, industries like where it's a fintech, or it's, say, digital identity is there, or say, supply chain. All these kind of things where you need to track the things, and you need the authenticity of data, you need the security of data. These are the fields where it's being used currently. So it's interesting that we would like to know as to how this is actually being used in data centers, and that's today's topic, that how it is being currently used in data centers for operations and management, and how will be used in future. So how it's going to happen going forward. Now, if we look at the blockchain as a field, although we see a lot of benefits of it, we have got other challenges like it's not scalable to an extent, it consumes a lot of energy, there are storage issues, there are regulatory issues. So all those sorts of demerits are also there in the blockchain. So with that, say pretext, I would request the panelists to provide his inputs. So let me ask a few questions to them. So the first question is to Mr. Neilmani. Is discussion about digital technology in data centers too much dominated by AI?
Ashish, I think let me first acknowledge the fact that today the AI is there in all the field, and including the data center. And why I say so is there are a lot of use cases whenever it comes to optimization of processes, or it could be predictive maintenance. So basis this sort of use cases which are already there and we are already working on. So AI dominance is already there, and these use cases really support on this. But let me just throw some light on the wider aspect to it. On a broader perspective, when we look at, as Ashish was also mentioning, these are nothing but digital technologies. So we talked about AI, but then there are technologies, digital technologies like blockchain, which Ashish mentioned. There is IoT, there is edge computing. So if you look at it from a broader perspective, how this dominance of AI is gonna spread and will make our life more easier is what AI actually does. AI actually solves a problem of efficiency. Any problem that we go to, process optimization or automation, it solves a problem of efficiency. Also, it is enabling us to predict the maintenance, as I mentioned earlier. But then the broader aspect of things like your blockchain, your edge computing and your IoT will solve problems around transparency. They will solve the problem around security. It will solve the problem around compliances. While the way he was mentioning about what is blockchain, the picture that was coming to my mind, not fully, but in our mythology we have something called as Chitragupta, who's having a ledger of all the karmic account of we all, So this account that we have is immutable. I mean, you can't go and corrupt this data. The only thing is it is not decentralized as we say blockchain would be, but it is a immutable copy of things which cannot be tampered with, and it works. It really works, and we all know this. So that's all.
So thank you, Neil. So I would request Jeyabalan to now provide his insights on this particular thing.
Sure, thanks. Well, colleague spoke about the perspective of AI. Let me give another perspective from data center colo service providers. While I was just entering into the hall and I saw the other moderator was talking about the panelist. She said she made a statement saying that close to 1,000 times she heard about AI since morning. So that itself indicates that means AI is on top of everybody's mind. Okay. Having said that, let me give a perspective how the technology, digital technology evolved. It started from 3 decades ago when most of us would have started seeing a trunk call, then moved to pager, where everybody start to see the message or page, but you can't respond back, but you go and try and call back. Then moved to a GSM, the 2G, and 2G after that 3G and 4G and now 5G. That's where telecom evolved in digital, connecting us over a decade. Similarly, when you look at the data center, perspective, like if you put 2000 and again 2 decade back, most of us in our offices used to build a small hub room, or we call it data center hub room, right?
Correct.
With a capacity of maximum 100 kilowatt as a data center pod, starting with the 2 kilowatt. Then obviously, so the data center started evolve from there on its 2 kilowatt rack density to 5 kilowatt. 5 kilowatt rack density to 8 kilowatt in 2015 and so on. And as we speak now, the data center, when you talk about the rack density design, the average density is close to 15 to 22 kilowatt is the average rack density while we talk about for a cloud kind of an enterprise customers. At the same time, we also start seeing a new domain, new entrance to the industry of data center demand. What we see, that's AI. So if we look at the demand of the rack density design of AI is close to 45, starts from 45 kilowatt and goes on up to 137 kilowatt is spoken so far. Okay, so this is a kind of evolvement happening in data center. What we see, what we all witnessing, and that's how we always believe that by looking at the way current demand, what we are experiencing and witnessing, AI is definitely dominating all of us. And just to add more to in addition to the kilowatt densities, as I mentioned earlier, like 100 kilowatt pod or 500 kilowatt maximum capacity we used to build in a commercial building. Now moved to 3 megawatt, 2 or 3 megawatt in the entire building, then gone to 10 megawatt per building and 24 and kind of stuff. As we speak today, nobody speaks less than 100 kilowatt, 100 megawatt or 200, 500 megawatt in the campus.
Yeah.
So such a substantial change, a dynamic change what we see, And this is in a kind of a AI dominating the digital technology today, and we believe that it is real, and we believe that we wish that it continues forever.
Okay, okay. So with this now I will come back to Neil again to explain as to how you are currently using, because you see that that's what he is saying, that says the AI is dominating. But how is blockchain being used currently in the data centers, in the operations and management, and then how it can be otherwise used in a different way to handle the data center operations and management? If you can explain that.
Okay, so coming to your question on how blockchain is being used in the data center, as I already mentioned, before that, the AI is prevalent as of now, but the usage of blockchain, Equinix is one of the data centers that I'm aware of, where they have actually used blockchain for the sustainability angle. So
Okay.
they claim that they have 30% saving on the sustainability front. Similarly, there are case study where Microsoft is using for tracing their carbon footprint, and they claim that there is a 10% improvement in putting a check on the carbon footprint. We all are working towards that, reducing the carbon footprint, and one of the challenge that people have is how do you actually trace it to the accuracy. So considering this data center example, there are live examples where people talk about with the help of blockchain you can actually identify the coffee that you are having, what is the source and the origin of the coffee right from the field.
Correct.
I mean, that was on a lighter note to digress, but then there are other things like you talked about supply chain. So IBM is having a product in blockchain which manages the supply chain, and those supply chain effectivity is around 40% when you try to use it with blockchain versus not without blockchain. And so these are certain use cases which are there in which blockchain is used, and there are certain statistics around the same. But having said that, the challenges that we normally face with this is because it's huge and voluminous in nature. So that is one challenge wherein it will consume a lot of power. The loading of this distributed channel is again a challenge because of the voluminous transaction that you would have. So there are regularity challenge. You need to have a proper ecosystem of regulatory which need to be in place in order to take care of these things. So the technology is at the evolving stage. There are people who are leaders, which I mentioned you in the earlier conversation, who have already started using it, and there are people who are actually learning and waiting for the right ecosystem to get in place and having the right use case to get started.
Okay, good. So basically, some of the industry players are using it in different ways, but it is still probably evolving. So that's how that comes out, and you also explain the factors which are say going to increase the usage of blockchain, as well as some factors which are say inhibiting them. So I think
So just a point on certain factor which would increase. See, we have to look at the strength of blockchain. As you mentioned, it has a strength of you cannot corrupt the ledgers, right?
Okay.
So that is the strength. Now, if you look at this strength, you can actually leverage this strength for the security thing. When you look at security, you also need something which cannot be corrupted or tampered with.
Correct.
So that is one use case where you can use it. Second is it is distributed network. So the other strength is you can distribute it. So that strength actually gives it the capability of you can use your storage in a distributed architecture, again untampered thing. Now these are a couple of things coming from the strength. I would talk about something which are the inhibitors. The inhibitors, as I already mentioned, is the government framework, regulation and policy. It's a similar challenge that we have in cryptocurrency, because you started the conversation saying that it is stemming out of the cryptocurrency thing. So cryptocurrency is nothing but blockchain. It's a similar challenge that we have in the regulatory framework. That's one point. Other 2 points I have already mentioned about is the volume and the power it is going to consume. As of now, there are a lot of debates around, are we green when we use AI? because we are consuming so much of power, and how much green we are consuming, and how much load we are putting on data center and other areas as a result of this. So these are a couple of inhibitors to me as far as the usage of blockchain is concerned.
Interesting. So, Abhishek, I will now come to you that how do you consider blockchain will play a role in securing sensitive transactions between data centers or say external stakeholders? So what's your view on that?
So, Ashish, what I think is, as rightly said, the blockchain is quietly, it's very at a evolving stage. Looking towards another 5 years when the regulatory and other things come, it will be very helpful in places where you want the immutable transactions to happen, and the places where the consortium will come into picture. For example, let's say an example in the insurance sector. All the insurance companies give no claim bonus to us, right? Now exchanging your data and then coming up no claim bonus, data to be exchanged with everybody with the transparency is something where these kind of consortium. Similarly, for sustainability growth or something like my carbon credits, how government can give, now government has to come into that picture, that government gives credits, carbon credits, your electricity credits and all these data centers. When goes into green, they get some tax rebates from the government and they're able to subsequently trace the prices of the cloud and other data center based on that. Now, if all the IoT devices, smart meters, and these are procured and given by the government, or we can have a blockchain kind of transparency, the credits are lasered into all the data center. I can, in the marketplace, we can use credits of another, and all these possibilities will come into picture, and which I think another 5 years, maybe down the line, when these things will stable. And a lot of these things will come. Right now, there are certain things where the government has to decide. For example, there is a contradiction on the data itself is a GDPR or DPDP. The data has to be deleted, then immutable, what need to be done. Then similarly, what he rightly said about the what we have to use, POW we have to use, POS, or some approval authorities should come into picture. Otherwise, this power consumption inhibits people to use it. In most of the use cases, it becomes difficult, and the consortium framework will come, has to come, and people have to use in more community. Then only it will be useful. If only one company wants to start it or another company wants to start it, definitely they have an option that anyway they are centralizing it, then they will keep using the old technology with them.
Understood. Understood. So if I want to say further deep down into say sustainability, then how, what do you think that how blockchain will further help achieve the goal of sustainability tracking, say some kind of a province system or some kind of a carbon credit? How does it help? How does blockchain help?
So with this transparency come into picture, like the government and the data center across, or my data center across, if I have all the data coming from the IoT sensor devices for my power consumption, and from even from the supply chains perspective, from the waste also, where I my waste and other things, from where I procured from that to that, and then the smart contracting will also come into picture with this, where I can transfer my carbon credits. I can marketplace can be there where you can purchase carbon credits, and that way the sustainability will come into picture, and it will be very transparent across the data centers. I can leverage from my geographical conditions also. For example, the area where the solar capacity is more, those places I can take my credits, which will be higher, and somewhere where the thermal electricity is more, like in India, where the coal is the primary source of electricity consumption. I can utilize my data center in Singapore's credit to here, but then that transparency between the government will come only with the technology like blockchain. Otherwise, Singapore government or Indian government will never connected to each other. So that is how across the world the consortium will come into picture probably very soon. The environment, the way the governments are focusing on the environment, the transparency between the governments itself, like what US says today is dumping the more waste across or not, people don't trust them. So it's a trust factor, like who is doing what. Unless that transparency comes into picture, especially in sustainability, it is, I think blockchain can play a very big role and significant role.
Yeah, so I think a lot of things are going to happen provided there is a framework around it. So that's what comes out. Now, if I go to Jeyabalan and if you could say, as you are a co-location partner, are operators hesitant to adopt blockchain due to its perceived complexity or say energy intensive nature? So, any specific insights into this?
Yeah, sure. So definitely, when the co-panelists spoke about how blockchain is generally works, right? The distributed network, it has some benefits in terms of security, encrypt, etc. You definitely have lots of, there are significant potential benefits you have. Same time, when you look at how to implement the, blockchain in an existing data center, when you talk about to implement the, blockchain in an existing data center, it always brings up, first, the availability of, technical, expertise. Because this needs a kind of specialized, skill set to implement the, blockchain in any data center. That's first, foremost, which everyone will look for it. Second, while we're looking at this, the implementation of blockchain in existing data center, now this always needs a kind of a replacement of either adding additional hardwares or replacement of existing hardwares, software upgradation. You want to go for entire network infrastructure change. And you also spoke about, this panelist spoke about energy, because especially whether it's a POS or POW, the energy is going to consume a huge amount of energy, and thus where existing data center capacity may not be sufficient enough to cater the requirement of blockchain. Then that led to changing the infrastructure, cooling demand, either power. So that's a kind of a challenges one will have to do at any stage from the energy this perspective. Adding to that, while we're talking about the energy, right? So, we also spoke about now in today's situation, at least from a sustainability perspective, that the today's data center, most of the data center players, including us, that we started practicing about sustainability. But at the same time, when you try to introduce the blockchain, that comes with a huge amount of energy intensity, right? So then that speaks about, that gives a challenge to meet our goal of sustainability, because that's when you have to burn more carbon, you have to, to meet the same outcome or etc. Third part is, when it comes to, infrastructure upgradation to the cost. So cost component, implementing blockchain definitely comes with actual substantial cost, especially in a existing data center kind of stuff. And so looking at all these parameters, and obviously the last but not least, the proven track record, the successful implementation of blockchain across the data centers. That's not been yet to be seen. We all knew that it is under development or it's being evolved or being deployed. And thus, people will have to wait and see that, iska success kab tak hoga. Okay, who's going to implement first and INC next to you. So, and so on. So, and thus, as of today, people are, kind of hesitant to adopt, or spread across wide option. That's so my view in that front.
Okay, so then what do you feel that nice to have solution or say must to have solution for a modern data center?
Sure. So while we spoke about all this, hesitation of a data center operator to implement, but the panelists also spoke about the, some of the features. This definitely comes with a good amount of features. There are significant potential, like wherever there is a data driven, it brings in a efficiency in the supply chain management that Shamari and Abhishek spoke about. Okay, and this, gives, because we talked about, talked about the traceability of, if somebody has to take take a cup of tea, and you can still trace the origin of the source where the tea was, the chai was made, and kind of a traceability. So these all have a kind of a nice to have, while as a must have, there are like security. We can say that can be said as a must have can be considered as a must have. However, looking at these challenges we spoke about, right? In terms of energy, sustainability, and skill set availability, etc. I would still say that we will look for wait and watch at kind of a state that things to evolve over a period of time so that others will see the success of others and start implement.
Understood. Yeah, correct. So I think I will sum it up.
I'll add. So, like the electric vehicle drive or any other solar panel drive, the regulations is very much important. And as what rightly said is, wait and watch. But then there is a support required where the consortium should come into, because only one data center starting it will not impact much.
Correct.
Unless there is a profitability will come only when the people will, the consortium can come on, and then the regulatory compliance and the government can come into picture. Because anyway, sustainability is a very big goal which can be achieved by blockchain. So there is some investment from the government side, some from the framework side, regulatory side is required, and then it will take as a catalyst from there for the data centers and data center operators to start with. Probably, I think.
Yeah. So if I want to say sum up all the views that has been expressed by all the panelists, as of today it's not being used that much because of the inherent challenges. Primarily about it's not there is no ecosystem, because you need to have ecosystem or you need to have a framework in place. Say consortium has to be there. There has to be a support from the regulatory environment to make it happen, or having necessary rules. Then the data privacy rules, those are in place, because in some cases, some use cases, data privacy rules do not allow storage of the information across multiple nodes at the same time. Or say you have got other challenges as to it's consuming a lot of energy when you are using POW or POS kind of say consensus mechanisms. You are certain that the nodes are really following up and they are genuine nodes. So when you do all that, so it's if you look at the moment, then unless we have those things, and that has to begin at somewhere. Probably it might begin with say US and Europe, the developed countries, and then probably it will further percolate down to India and to other countries, so that then it automatically begins, because there is a substantial investment in it. Lot of storage and lot of energy is going to consume, and one has to say weigh the benefits against using so much say so much complex things, as well as so much say capital intensive things as such into this. And that's the current challenge, I would say, if I want to sum up the inputs from all the panelists. And let us see how things evolve going forward, and probably, as what Abhishek said, that 5 years down the line we might see a different world where a lot of things will come up, and then that will help us to say make the use the blockchain in a better way. At least some of the use cases, not maybe most of them, but where it makes sense, say monetary wise, as well as other things like the other benefits that blockchain is giving. So if that is going to help us, then that's where we see that probably that will get used, or say after 5-6 years or whatever timeline in future. So that's the overall view of the panelists at the moment. I think that's it. So if the time permits, we can take questions.